This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
And it is Wednesday. That means it's time for the mailbag. It's June 7th, 2023. We're going to get into the mailbag in just 1 second. And I'd like to invite you guys to join us on Patreon if you haven't done it already, okay? Because it's a great place to go ad-free. There's a little wrestling community on there that's growing. And there's a Discord server where you can chat with all the other fans of the show and fans of, more importantly, wrestling. So I'd encourage you to go and join us on patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can also check us out on Twitter at wrestling_audio, or you can go to WWEpodcast.com, or if you want to really support us, you can go ad-free on Apple Podcasts, but you also can go to WWEpodcastshop.com. Yes, I somehow snagged that URL. Don't ask me how, but I did. And it's available for you for shirts, t-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, that kind of thing. It's all there for you to peruse and support the show and get a little something, right? All right, let's get into it. Let's get into the mailbag, guys. We're going to jump into the emails, and we're going to start with Kyle. And he says it's, hey, WWE Podcast family, it's New York Kyle back again. I already will have the Cora Jade report for you in this week's voicemail. By the way, guys, before I go any further, if you are new to the show and you're not a patron, you can either send us an email or a voicemail. The number to call is in the notes of this show. But you can't do both, and they need to be 3 minutes or less, email or phone. But if you're a patron of the show, you can send a voicemail and an email. So that is just one of the many benefits of going to Patreon, and it's only $1 a month to get started, so it's nearly free. All right, so Kyle says, for this email, I did my research and have something really fun for you guys that are interested like I was. I'm going to list all 28 championship defenses and 17 opponents for the first 1,000 days of Roman Reigns' legendary undisputed Universal Championship reign. Let's do this. I apologize to Matt in advance. This is a lot. You read my mind, Kyle. You are a psychic. All right. This is a lot, guys. However, this is important, and it reminds you who his opponents were and when he defended it. It is just bear with us here. I know it is a lot, but how many people have actually gone back and listened to this and all the defenses and opponents? So this is cool. Let's do it. First off, Roman won the Universal Championship from then champion The Fiend and Braun Strowman in a triple threat match at Payback on August 30th, 2020, 1 week after returning at SummerSlam. The first defense was against Jey Uso at Clash of Champions on September 27th, 2020. The second was Braun Strowman on October 16th, 2020 on SmackDown. The third was against Jey Uso again in a Hell in a Cell rematch at the Hell in a Cell event on October 25th, 2020. Next up was Kevin Owens at TLC on December 20th. The fifth was Kevin Owens again in a rematch on Christmas Day on SmackDown. I remember that very well. It doesn't seem like 2020. I thought it was like 2022. I don't know why. Really? Is that really 2020? Jeez. All right. Now to 2021. His sixth defense was against, once again, Kevin Owens in a last man standing rematch at the Royal Rumble on January 31st, 2021. The seventh was against Daniel Bryan at Elimination Chamber on February 21st. The eighth was Daniel Bryan in a rematch, this time with guest enforcer, Edge at Fastlane on March 21st. Again, we're still in 2021. The ninth was against Daniel Bryan and Edge in a triple threat match at WrestleMania 37 Night 2 on April 11th, 2021. His 10th defense was against Daniel Bryan in one more third rematch on April the 30th edition of SmackDown, with the stipulation being if Bryan lost, he leaves SmackDown. Well, we know what happened there. Number 11 came against Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash on May 15th. Number 12 was against Rey Mysterio in Hell in a Cell on June 18th on SmackDown. Number 13 was against Edge, again at Money in the Bank on July 18th. Number 14 was against John Cena at SummerSlam on August 21st. The 15th was against Finn Balor on the September 3rd edition of SmackDown. The 16th was against the Demon King, Finn Balor, in an Extreme Rules match at the Extreme Rules event on September 26th. I believe that was when the demon fell off the ropes. Didn't a rope break or something? The 17th was against Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel on October 21st. The 18th was against Sami Zayn on the December 3rd edition of SmackDown. All right, here we go. 2022. The 19th defense was against Seth Rollins with the Usos banned from ringside at the Royal Rumble on January 29th. Also, Roman retained by DQ in this match, as technically he's only lost so far because he lost by DQ, but he hasn't been pinned or submitted since December 2019. Yeah, they still are hanging on to that. The 20th defense was against Goldberg at Elimination Chamber on February 19th, 2022. His 21st defense was against Brock Lesnar in a Unification winner takes all, this beloved match here, for the Universal and WWE Championship at WrestleMania 38 Night 2. Roman obviously won here and took a championship away from Raw for a year. The 22nd defense was against Matt Riddle on June 17th, 2022, with the stipulation that if Riddle lost, he could never challenge Roman again, as long as he's champion anyway. The 23rd defense was against Brock Lesnar, this time in a last man standing match at SummerSlam, July 30th, 2022. Really good match. That might have been their best of their series here. All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritty, guys. Only a few more. Number 24 was against Drew McIntyre, Clash at the Castle. Many people thought that was the end of it. I said that was the first time that there's a real threat, and even WWE after this match had considered it, but he obviously didn't win, and we had Drew lose here. The 25th defense came against Logan Paul at Crown Jewel, November 5th, and now he moved to 2023. His 26th defense was against Kevin Owens at the Royal Rumble on January 28th, 2023. So hilarious, right? Apparently Kevin Owens has some kind of cyclical challenge for Roman Reigns at the Rumble every year, I guess. The 24th defense. I skipped it. The 27th defense was against Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber, February 18th of this year. And finally, the 28th defense was against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39, Night 2, April 2nd, 2023. Wow, that was a lot of fun. And I think that's all I got for today. Talk to you next time. Remember to acknowledge him. Well, I mean, we don't have a choice, do we? That's a hell of a list, Kyle. It's worth noting. It's worth talking about. Going back and reliving and thinking, oh my God, that was actually 2 years ago. It wasn't just last year. Amazing. 28 times. Now, if I break it down, let me do some simple math. I'm going to do some simple math. So Roman has held it, say, what the hell's he on? 1,010 days, something like that. And he has defended it 28 times. That means this is actually a pretty eye-opening stat. What I did was figure out how often Roman Reigns defends his championship mathematically. What I did was just take 1,010 days and divide it by 28. And that gave us every 36 days, Roman Reigns defends his championship. It doesn't seem like that, because as of the last few months, he hasn't done jack. But there was a time where he defended it every month, and that has started to show itself in the math here. But right now, over his entire run, 36 days, every 36 days, he does seem to defend it. That's about once a month, little over once a month. So, as we get deeper into the Roman Reigns run, does that number go up? I can bet you yes, as he, continues here. And I think he will continue for a while, but that's interesting. All right. Good stuff, guys. Thanks, Kyle. let's move into who do I want to go to? What do I want to go to? I'm going to go to Levi Graham. And he says, "Hi, Matt. Hope all's well. I'm going to ask your opinion on this question I had because I presume that at SummerSlam, the Usos will be in a tag team match against Roman and Solo. Do you think during the match we could possibly get interference by not just the Judgment Day, but also Imperium on behalf of Roman and Solo? Because in the past recent weeks, they have helped each other and could form one big faction like WWE did in the late 1990s and early 2000s with the Corporation and the Ministry of Darkness, right? The corporate ministry. So what I'm saying is Judgment Day, Imperium, and what is left of the Bloodline become one big faction. No, Levi. I would say no, and God, I hope they don't do that. I understand what you're saying. I understand the temptation. But here's the thing. All three factions are doing just fine on their own. If you watered it down by combining these groups in any way, it would, I think, have the reverse impact that you're looking to have. Because all of these groups have their individual storylines that have been doing very well. Of course, you could rank it probably going with Bloodline, then Judgment Day, then Imperium. And there's even a strong case to keep Imperium together. Gunther is on an absolute roll. He is a future world champion. And I believe a future Hall of Famer in WWE. And I just don't think that that's a good idea. And even when we look back at the example that you're talking about with the Corporation and the Ministry of Darkness that became the corporate ministry, it became too damn big and too watered down. And it really, when you do that, sure, they combine forces and you're like, oh my God, who can stop them? But it sort of erases people's personal individual identities, and they get lost, and a lot of people get overshadowed for just a couple of people, right? What are you going to have? Like, none of these people are going to be subservient to any leader. Roman's not going to answer to anybody. The Judgment Day was founded on not having a leader after they ousted Edge. And Imperium, you think Gunther is going to bow to somebody? Or, it's a cool concept, and, just to see it play out in your mind, but I think it should stay there. It's just, it would be detrimental, I think. Now, if someone like one or two people were to defect into a group, that's an argument to be made, but to actually dissolve one group into another, I think is a mistake. Thanks, Levi. All right, let's get to Ari. And Ari says, "Hi there. I see wrestlers like Ziggler, Baron Ali, Corbin, and many more who are in WWE but still should and must some title matches compete for the title." There's some words missing here. I'm trying to piece it together the best I can, Ari. I really am. I'm thinking maybe if WWE brings back the Cruiserweight Championship. Okay. All right. I can grasp onto that. All right. So do I think they should bring the Cruiserweight Championship back? No, I don't. I don't. Because the reason I don't is that you need to work with the titles you have and to make them feel important. They already have, if you really want to be egregious, but somewhat accurate, they have the Intercontinental, they have the US, they have the World Heavyweight Championship, they still have the WWE and Universal Championship physical belts. Okay. And until they retire those, I'm going to include them. And they have Roman's undisputed championship belt that they introduced to him last week. You could argue they have 4 top belts. Now, are the 4 physical belts representative of 4 separate championships? No. But it does add yet another physical belt to the mix, and the more something exists, the less it's worth. I keep saying that. No, I don't, because I don't trust them to do much with it. Oh, and the tag team championships, of course. And what brand would it live on? What brand could handle another championship belt? I just don't think that's a wise decision. Plus, if you're a cruiserweight, well, then you have to make a certain weight. And you would exclude a lot of guys in that on the roster because of the weight class. Would it have to be like under 210 or 220 or something like that? I don't think it's a good idea. It worked briefly. I remember when WWE implemented it in the early 2000s, there was a time when it actually meant something. I remember Taka Michinoku winning it. I think Chavo Guerrero won it for a little while. But I just, no, I'm opposed to that. All right. Thanks, Ari. What do we get to? Let's get to, I know who. You guys know him. Let's get to Mr. DJ Kuzmo. And he says he's back at it again on our mailbag show. A shorter email today, DJ, but let's do it. This past Friday night on SmackDown, we got the unveiling of a new undisputed blah, blah, blah WWE Championship on Roman's 1,000-day celebration. I really hope the name of this title gets chopped down to the undisputed WWE Championship. Anyway, now that we have one major title on SmackDown, one major title on Raw for the men to compete for, what about the women's division and hopefully doing something in terms of unifying the women's championships of Raw and SmackDown? Or do they just do a title swap? Because are we going to continue to beat a dead horse here? When Asuka on SmackDown is announced as the Raw Women's Champion and Rhea, the SmackDown Women's Champion on Raw, do you think that the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank finally puts to rest the Women's Championship confusion? Or does the creative prolong the confusion until SummerSlam in the form of maybe title versus title, which is the winner becoming the undisputed Women's Championship or champion? I know that this possible unification of the titles will interfere with the brand rules, but something's got to give here. Come on, creative. Fix this bleep bleep. I'm just saying. I want to say more than that and rant, but I will keep it brief on the email. That's all for now. DJ Kuzmo signing off. All right. It's really inexcusable that they haven't even addressed this. It's embarrassing. I mean, I've said enough about the fact that they cannot, for the life of them, adhere to their own brand rules. They actually violated the brand rules before they even went into effect the week before they did. I mean, it was absolutely egregious. And then every week since, there has been somebody on there that shouldn't be. And Paul Heyman is not an active wrestler, of course, but if he's drafted to a brand, keep him there. I mean, you could accomplish the same thing with a pre-taped interview or a video package. You don't need to have him live on Raw. It's ridiculous. I love Paul. I understand the success of the Bloodline story. I understand the success of the ratings on SmackDown with Roman Celebration, all that. But for the love of God, I mean, it's embarrassing they can't keep the brand integrity intact. I know most fans don't seem to give a damn. I don't give WWE a pass for it, though. And the fact that this still exists as well, where the Raw champion for the women is on SmackDown and vice versa, it doesn't make sense. It should just be addressed at the beginning of the draft. If a Raw branded champion goes to the opposing brand, they will absorb that championship and swap with the person that's there to go to the rightful brand that has the right championship assigned to that brand. I know I use more words than I need to. Basically, if you're a Raw champion and you go to SmackDown, you get the SmackDown championship and give up the Raw one. That's it, and vice versa. End of story. End of story. How this has continued to go on, and the announcers aren't even talking about it. They're just acting like, oh yeah, Asuka's the Raw Women's Champion. And that's it. That's it. And no problem. Nothing to see here. We just implemented the draft, but we have a Raw champion on SmackDown and SmackDown champion on Raw for the women, and it's all's good. It's ridiculous. I don't know if they're doing title versus title. I'm fine with them unifying the women's championship. Actually, I'm all for it. I'm all for fewer championships. I'm a general proponent, or a general advocate rather, of fewer championships across the board. So I'm all for it. And they should do the same damn thing with the tag team championships. Why carry two belts around? If you told us it's unified, what are you carrying two belts for? It's got to be a pain in the ass. Number one. Number two, the tag team championship belts don't look that good. I mean, just unify them. I don't care what we make them pink. I don't care. I mean, I do care to that extreme, but just create one championship belt. For everything else WWE does and throws money into and focuses on, they can't just address the most obvious glaring issues. I don't know. All right, DJ. Ay. All right. Let's go. Go to Rebecca. And she says, I saw your signs. They look great. Well, thank you, Rebecca. She needs to finish her email here. And she says, my boyfriend and I have a prediction about Judgment Day. We think that Damian Priest is going to leave or get kicked out. Did you see the dirty look he got from Finn Balor after he said he didn't need him to win? And Damian would be great on his own. We think that McDonough may join with them. He'd be a great replacement. What do you think? Yeah, there's a lot of that going around. I saw a couple of TikToks of the look Finn Balor gave Damian Priest. There is some validity to that. I do think Damian Priest has such a commanding voice. boy, he has got a perfect promo voice, does he not? It's deep, it's commanding, it's masculine, it's dominant. It just is, okay? And he has the voice that if Vince McMahon could somehow transplant Damian Priest's voice into Brock Lesnar, I think Vince McMahon was give his right arm to do that. Because it feels like Brock Lesnar should have that voice. Brock Lesnar's voice is Brock Lesnar has kind of a weird voice. Does he not? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't fit how his body looks and how who he is. But anyway, I'm going way off topic. My point is, yes, I did see it. I do feel that there is something there that we need to keep an eye on with Finn and Priest. How quickly it materializes remains to be seen. I think if we don't see any evidence of it over the next 3 to 4 weeks, it could have just been a one-off thing. It could have just been a natural reaction from Finn, not meaning anything to plant a seed of dissent. It could have just been his initial reaction, and then it just dies a quick death, and the Judgment Day continues to exist. There's an argument to be made to not break up the Judgment Day anytime soon, though. Too, they're on a successful run. I mean, the Judgment Day are on a great run, and to have Damian leave and become a baby face, I'm good with that as long as the group itself doesn't dissolve, because of what Rhea and Dom and Finn have, especially Rhea and Dom. There's something special there. So it's not big of a group as insignificant of a group as the Bloodline per se, but I did see that. And as far as McDonough has a nice look to him. He's got that darker look to him. He could easily throw some black trunks on him and dye his hair jet black or something. I mean, there's things you could do. He's already got the look. Absolutely. And he fits right in the same class as Finn Balor in terms of the body type and all that kind of thing, and the style of wrestling. Absolutely. And would help elevate a new talent. And that's what groups are really for, ultimately, to create new single stars. That's the ultimate goal of a group or a tag team, really, because the most success, the highest level of success you can achieve unequivocally, did I say that word right? Unequivocally? Yeah, sure, we'll leave it there, is as a single star. That is how you achieve the highest potential in the business. So, all right. Thank you, Rebecca. And Rocket T, I know we're getting to you, buddy. We're getting to you. Let's go to another patron here, Malachi. And he says, I'll continue to be the podcast's sole Bianca defender, but let me apologize for calling you a hater. That's not what I meant as I was typing it up. I just get passionate and angry when it comes to her and her booking. I just feel like her getting stale and boring isn't her fault. She would only get 1 to 2 minutes of TV time and nothing to work with. I agree with you. She needs to turn heel, but do you think it should be in a stable with the Street Profits or another female? Or would you rather just see her be a heel by herself? I think her being a heel is already worked into her character. She doesn't even need to turn full heel. The way she was on SmackDown with Asuka and the promo she cut after SmackDown on the YouTube exclusive was perfect. I think making her like Gunther, who's just a badass and whoops ass and handles business, would just be fine. What do you think? Yeah, there's a lot of ways to go here. First of all, you don't need to apologize. We're all here because we're passionate wrestling fans, right? Because most wrestling fans don't listen to podcasts. Most don't. Those that are real true students of the game, I believe, do. Ones that have, bring wrestling in as part of your actual life and want to learn more and hear people talk about it. That's why we're here, right? So, yeah, first of all, don't worry about apologizing. Second of all, she does only get 1 to 2 minutes of TV time. She doesn't get a whole lot, right? And there's only so much you can do, and it's all maximize your minutes. Well, if you don't ever get that many minutes, there's not much to maximize. And she's in her comfort zone. I think what Bianca has reached is her comfort zone, which, as we all know, is the kiss of death. When you get into your comfort zone, you stop growing, you become stale, which is what Bianca's character has done. As great as she is in the ring, she's just churning out the same product with the same promos, with the same strut to the ring and skipping a hop and twirling your hair to the ring. And people are just like, all right, well, we realize how good you are. You're probably the best women's athlete to ever walk in the company. But like, can we do something? Can we shake this up? It's just time for a shakeup with Bianca. That's it. That's all. And as far as, her in a stable with the Street Profits and another female, I think, again, first of all, don't worry about apologizing. Second of all, if you don't ever get that many minutes, there's not much to maximize. And she's in her comfort zone. I think what Bianca has reached is her comfort zone, which is what Bianca's character has done. As great as she is in the ring, she's just churning out the same product with the same promos, with the same strut to the ring and skipping a hop and twirling your hair to the ring. And people are just like, all right, well, we realize how good you are. You're probably the best women's athlete to ever walk in the company. But like, can we do something? Can we shake this up? It's just time for a shakeup with Bianca. That's it. That's all. And as far as, her in a stable with the Street Profits and another female, Yeah, I remember seeing her in the pandemic era with the Street Profits, and I remember I said this before, but anybody remember when Montez Ford was poisoned? Anybody remember that? Montez Ford like passed out. Again, this is in storyline. He was poisoned. Oh, that was funny. But she was a heel back then, and I remember being like, "Wow, she's so unlikable." So she's definitely capable of it. She's already a heel disguised as a babyface because she's charming. But you can't call yourself the EST of everything, and you're the EST, the best, the fastest, the strongest, the roughest, the toughest, all that. I mean, you're essentially saying you are the apex human being. You are the greatest of all time to ever exist in physical form as a human. And we're all cheering this. It's really kind of amazing. But through her charm, through her work ethic, all that, she's got a great smile. She does have a nice look. She's been able to deodorize what is otherwise a heel character. Now, I wouldn't put her with Montez Ford. If they have interactions, that's fine, but I would leave Montez alone and the Street Profits alone. They have their own issues to work out of becoming relevant again. But it's difficult when you bring a female into a group with men. It works with Rhea because they're allowing Rhea to just beat up on men, and men can't retaliate because she's a woman, which is just ridiculous to me in wrestling. It makes no sense. There's just this magical force around her because, well, I'm a woman, you can't hit me back, which is nonsense. But I understand in this day and age why they don't do it. Do I agree with it? No. I think it's stupid. I think fans would actually pop big time if Rhea was to get struck by a man when she attacked him and they actually retaliate. I think fans would actually pop. But it's the topic nobody wants to talk about and nobody wants to say out loud, but I will. I hate the fact that men can't retaliate against women in WWE. I think it's a farce. It diminishes the men, their characters. It makes them look demasculized and just like cowards. And like Rhea stands there and she's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" And it's like, "Well, I'm gonna defend myself and I'm gonna punch you back." Like that's what I'm gonna do. But you don't do that in today's day and age, which is for a lot of reasons I won't get into. It's just ridiculous. Self-defense is self-defense no matter what. You don't just stand there and get your ass beat and go, "Well, wait a minute. Who are you, a man or a woman?" "Oh, okay, you're a woman." "Well, then, I'm your piñata." Nonsense. So I know nobody addresses this but me, and no one responds to this but me. But I will continue to say it. Anyway, off my soapbox. Way off topic. I don't want her with the Street Profits. I answered that. I think she should work as a heel by herself initially, but bring in stars or up and coming stars. Bring in newer, maybe NXT, like with what Trish Stratus is doing with Zoe Stark. Bring in somebody that was newly drafted to help Bianca when she needs it the most. That's what I would do. I would have her do that. And she could be a Gunther that just is a badass at first and just kicks ass. And a heel doesn't always need to cheat to win. A heel doesn't need to always be a coward. A heel can be somebody that is just nasty, vile, unlikable, but they're undeniably good. Like, for example, when Triple H in the early 2000s, he didn't always cheat to win. Sometimes he was the better man that night, and you hated him even more for it. And it legitimizes that person even more, makes them more of a threat to your baby faces, and makes you want to see somebody just come along and beat them even more. Versus a heel that is extremely beatable, and they're just hiding behind whatever, like The Miz, who doesn't have any real heat. He's a joke in terms of a wrestling character, that kind of thing. All right. Boy, you got me all fired up, Malachi. All right. I'll do Rocky T last. I'll save the best for last. But let's get to Jonathan. And he says, "Hey, this is Jay Crum. I keep seeing posts on other wrestling websites that Rikishi is going to return and be a part of the Bloodline story. Just wondering if you've seen anything about that." Yeah, I have. I've heard about a lot of the family of Roman Reigns, the Anoa'i family, being involved in this. From what I understand, and again, I feel like I'm saying this year after year, but from what I understand, this is actually supposed to be the start of the build to The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania 40. And I'm not buying into this yet. Okay, I'm going to go with the reports. I'm telling you what the reports say, and it does seem like there's some validity to it and there's some logic to it. I wouldn't get too excited until they really start pushing the family thing. Once they start really pushing the family thing, like bringing Rikishi in, bringing, other elders of the Anoa'i family in to the story, I'm going to stay away from the Rock thing, because remember, guys, I swore that off. I can't tell you how many times I predicted the Rock coming back last year for WrestleMania 39. Didn't happen, and I ended up looking like a fool. So I've learned better. I've learned from this, and I'm going to make myself better. I'm just telling you what's being reported, and I'm not going to buy into it until things really become apparent. But I have seen that, and it does make sense. It does make sense. They're always talking about head of the table, this for the family, for the family, for the family, for the family, the respect of the family. What does it mean? All that stuff. So it totally makes sense for Rikishi to come back. Absolutely. Now, of course, not in a wrestling capacity, of course, but to just talk to Roman, try to talk sense into him. Maybe Rikishi does take one bump. Okay. Maybe he is capable of that, of taking a Superman punch, right? Maybe one spear. But of course, guys, I want to stress, I don't think Rikishi, he's not getting back in the ring. All right. But if it's going to further the storyline, I think one bump is sufficient for Rikishi to take if this storyline plays out and Roman continues to get more and more heat. And now he's attacking members of the family that are trying to disrespect him. And now out comes The Rock, somebody that he can't just throw around on the mic, throw around in the ring, and someone to stand up to Roman Reigns after Roman starts to abuse his own family. And The Rock could come back and say, like, I stood back and I watched you abuse the other wrestlers, and where I drew the line is when you start to mess with my family. We're going to find out who the true head of the table is, right? I mean, I'm coming up with stuff that's, I think, plausible. That's all. All right. I did say we had one more, but we actually have two more. It's the G-Man. He just chimed in. All right. G-Man, let's go. You guys wait till the last second. Sometimes I'm literally recording this and I see emails and I can't ignore them. So, G-Man, let's go. You say, I got to say, this wasn't a bad Raw. A lot of good wrestling. And the two I was excited to see were Caden Carter and Katana Chance. These two are my favorite tag team in NXT for the last 4 years. And they're now there and finally in the main roster, and I was damn excited to see them on Raw. That match they had against Ronda and Shayna was damn good, and the crowd looked like they loved the match too. Caden and Katana are here to stay. Yes, they arrived on Raw. They showed out. They showed up. They showed off. They made a statement. Didn't they actually say that? Like, so ridiculous. Didn't they say we're here to make a statement? They actually said those words. Again, if I was in charge of WWE, it would be a death sentence. Well, let's not say that. It would be a banning or a fine. How about that? You would get a $50,000 fine, whether it's an announcer or in a promo, somebody says the word statement. Stop it. For the love of God. They have this fascination with the word statement. They can't find a thesaurus and come up with something else. Anyway, I would agree. Katana Chance and Caden Carter really did show up and make a name for themselves quickly on Raw. I don't want them to being known as the life of the party forever. I think it's a bad name. I don't like it. It's a little childish. I want something a little more serious that fits the threat that they could be to other teams. It's not too threatening to hear, oh, the life of the party is going to face Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. It's like, is this a child's party? Like, what is this? It's almost like a middle schooler or an elementary school kid would come up with that name. I don't like it. It doesn't represent, or I think accurately or appropriately encapsulate the respect I have for these women and to make them a serious team. Now, I know their characters aren't serious and they're dark and they're mysterious and they cut crazy, just mystical promos. I'm not saying that, but I can't take you seriously if your name is the life of the party. Like, bottom line, grow up. Get a different name because you guys deserve better. You're way better than that. All right. All right. I'm on a rant roll tonight, guys, because I feel passionately about certain topics tonight. So look out. All right. Let's get to that. Let's get to that email. Here we go.
Hey, yo, it's me.
It's Rocky T.
All right, Rocky T. Let's go. And as I say this, just as I put the damn thing in the music, guys, the little intro there, we had another email come in. You guys are killing me. There's got to be a cutoff, all right? There's got to be a cutoff. But let's do it, Rocky. All right. So the current state hour special was great. You guys gave me a lot to think about, referencing myself and Anthony DeMargo, who did a 1 hour special on Romans 1000 Days. For everyone who thinks the cracks in the bloodline will be the end of the bloodline, don't hold your breath. Most relationship disputes, whether family or friends, have to do with money, respect, or possibly a significant other. In the case for the bloodline, we know it's not over money or over a woman. It all has to do with respect. What usually happens after two men duke it out, they gain respect for each other. I think the storyline will turn the Usos face if it hasn't already, and I think it has. Yeah, it definitely has. I believe the Usos will battle Roman and Solo, and respect will be restored, and eventually we'll get a babyface bloodline that will prolong the bloodline faction era. So for anybody thinking the bloodline is coming to an end, stop and think again. Merch sales are too high to dissolve the bloodline. I mean, Rocky T, you said it, man. Oftentimes as fans, we don't look at the money aspect of this thing. And as sometimes, most of the time, you would imagine in a perfect world, the best storylines, the ones that we want to see as fans, or things that go on too long that we feel like should end or all that, don't align with what we're seeing in dollars and cents behind the scenes. For example, the New Day. You guys know I can't stand them as a group. They are one of the most atrocious groups in the history of the company. Not in terms of ability, not in terms of me respecting them as individual wrestlers, but as a concept, as an attitude, the way they act, which is controllable, has been one of the most embarrassing, cringy groups that I've ever seen go on this long. That's my opinion. I think they've been a stain on wrestling. Again, not as individual wrestlers. They're all of them, all Xavier, Kofi, and Big E, whenever he returns, hopefully soon. I respect all of their abilities, and I think they're all very good in the ring. It's just when they come together as a personality, I'm attacking the personality of the group. That's all. I think it has been an atrocious stain on wrestling. That's my opinion. I can't be more straightforward than that. But the reason I say that is because while that storyline has gone on, that group has gone on way too long by almost all accounts, clearly the merch sales that kids are purchasing, well, their parents are purchasing it for the kids, and they do sell a lot of merch. They clearly gear towards the younger audience, are still bringing money in. So the same thing for the bloodline. If the merch sales are through the roof, they are the number one selling group in the history of the company. They are the number one merch selling group right now. And I think I got to look at, see what the number one t-shirt is right now. It might be the bloodline, something in the bloodline. But yeah, like, why would you kill a cash cow instead of gently milking it here and there? Right. I don't mean to be graphic. We're getting a little bit on the edge of not PG. But right, we're milking a cow, guys, okay? A cow, it goes moo. That's what I'm talking about. But really, imagine a cow, and it's giving you money, and you're just squeezing that money out little by little, instead of just shooting it in the head, right? That's what we're doing here. Makes sense. That's what they're going to do with the bloodline. And sure, they could fight like brothers, and then they end up coming together. Absolutely. There's a story to be made there, and they're going to beat the hell out of each other, maybe even bloody each other. And then maybe at the end of the day, they do come back together all together as a babyface group. But here's the thing. The only thing I'd say no to that right now is for the babyface turn anyway. Outside of, I'm talking about Roman and Solo going babyface, is the Rock factor. And have they really gotten everything out of a Roman Reigns heel run? I mean, that in of itself is a discussion, because it's still really hot for him as a heel. There's still more there. And you notice he hasn't ever really attacked the crowd. Anybody else notice this? He's not like the other heels that just wears down the crowd. He doesn't do that. He doesn't actually attack the audience. It's kind of fascinating. But that said, I don't think it's going to happen, because if they're planning on The Rock, he obviously can't have a babyface Roman Reigns facing The Rock. Can't do it. And there's still some baby faces he can work with that they could milk many more months out of. A returning possible Randy Orton. If Big E is drafted to SmackDown, what about Bray Wyatt? He's floating out there. AJ Styles. Eventually, maybe another Sami Zayn, right? And Seth Rollins at some godforsaken point, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. So my point is, there's still a lot of baby faces for him to go through, and potentially The Rock, before they fully turn the group. So I think in a year we could be talking about Roman turning babyface. I think a year from now, like next spring after WrestleMania 40, we could start talking about it. Until that time, it's unlikely. All right, Rocky T. All right, one more email, guys. One more email. It's not long. This is Adam from the UK, and he says, "Hey, Matt, not emailed for a while. Thank you for the great content each week. Last week's biggest topic was you being in attendance for Raw in Albany. Have you seen an increase in listeners? Hopefully it was worthwhile having the sign." Yeah, I have. It didn't explode, right? Excuse me. I didn't expect it to explode. I didn't know what to expect. I've seen a steady increase in downloads, in searches for my show. My website did 300% more more viewers, WWEpodcast.com, that kind of thing. But it wasn't like an overnight, oh my God, I'm a millionaire. No. But it did generate some interest, and that show will forever have my sign in it. Anybody that goes and watches it. And Seth Rollins' first entrance as World Heavyweight Champion will always be imprinted with my sign there. So it's forever in the lore of WWE, whether they like it or not. It's there forever. But yeah, it helped. It helped a little bit. Yeah. And that's really all I could ask for. Outside of selfless promotions, shameless self-promotion, I was there to just enjoy myself too. And I did. Absolutely. I really missed going to wrestling events. I won't be attending Money in the Bank, but I wonder if any of your listeners from the UK are going. And if they're able to give us all a review of the show, especially as we don't get any PPVs or PLEs in the UK. You've commented a few times that non-US crowds are vocal, so it would be good to get a first-person perspective of Money in the Bank. Cheers, Adam. Well, Adam, thank you for the compliments and for listening and writing in. Yeah, I am jealous. You guys make us look so bad. Puerto Rico and Canada and upcoming London. You guys just embarrass the States. I mean, you guys make us look like garbage. Just total trash. Oh, of course, Saudi Arabia too. You guys just make us look like fools and like just infants when it comes to crowd reaction. So thank you. But on all seriousness, if anybody from the UK is attending Money in the Bank that's listening, shoot me an email, mailbag@wwepodcast.com, or you can tweet me, wrestling_audio, or search the WWE podcast on Twitter. And shoot me an email, because I would love to be able to talk to you and be able to converse with somebody that's attending Money in the Bank. So that's an open invitation. Anybody that's attending Money in the Bank in the UK and London, this is your casting call. All right. Cool. Thanks, Adam. And yes, now that is conclusive of the emails. Now it's for the more fun part. You get to stop listening to me and get to start listening to other people. Let's do it with voicemail number 1.
WWE Podcast World, this is DJ Kuzma back at it again on your Mailbag show, record to you live on a Wednesday morning. And before we get to the Veer Mahan Report, I gotta give a shout out. To the Miami Heat. I've been a fan of this basketball team, the Miami Heat, since 2003, and to see them in the NBA Finals, oh my goodness, this is so freaking awesome to see them. That tonight in Game 3 down in Miami, they will hopefully go up 2-1. Hopefully they get a chance to beat the Denver Nuggets once again. Hopefully this time as they go for a 2-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets, who of course is the clear favorite to win the championship. So shout out to all the Miami Heat fans. Shout out to my guy, Fort Samo from Enter the Lamb podcast, who has been a devoted Miami Heat fan, and shout out to the whole Heat Nation. Let's go Heat! Let's go Heat! Of Coach Eric Spoelstra, of Jimmy Butler, of Bam Adebayo, and of course the OG of OGs, Udonis Haslem. So shout out to the Miami Heat as they try to get this win in Game 3 against the Denver Nuggets in the NBA Finals. Now, let's get to your favorite show to come in every single week on the Mailbag, and I'm talking about the Veer Mahan Report. Now, the Veer Mahan Report took place this past Monday night on Monday Night Raw, live from Hartford, Connecticut. We did get an appearance of the initiator of my guy Veer Mahan saga and the modern day Maharaja Jinder Mahal. But it seems like this wasn't a match to begin with, because they absolutely destroyed Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Oh my goodness, formerly known as the Hurt Business. Rest in peace to the Hurt Business. But this was not even a match, as we got to see just the absolute demolishing, absolute destruction, absolute dominance of the Indus to Shelton Benjamin as he was tossed outside the ring like a piece of chopped liver. And of course, we got to see all the handicap destruction as Veer Mahan and Saga tag team against none other than Cedric Alexander, doing their doomsday, their formidable doomsday tag team finisher on Cedric Alexander. This wasn't a match. The referee had to call it off because of the absolute punishment that Veer Mahan and Saga were giving to Cedric Alexander. So with that being said, this will be a continuation of the Indus dominating Monday Night Raw once again. And with that being said, I hope you all have a blessed week. This is your boy DJ Kuzmo. Be kind to one another. Stay using my friends, and peace.
Well, DJ, yeah, your Miami Heat are stubborn. They're a stubborn team. I have to say, I don't really follow the NBA that much until it gets to the playoff season, and then I'll listen to, specifically New York sports radio, like Michael Kay, Mike Francesa, all the big names. But they're really the reason I'm educated at all in NBA or have any idea of what the hell I'm talking about. But when it comes to the finals, yeah, I mean, it's been widely understood that the Nuggets are favorites, heavy favorites. And as I speak right now, they are winning in the fourth quarter. So the Nuggets could go up 2-1, but hey, even at 2-1, it's still anybody's series. Until somebody gets that third game, it is still anyone's series. But hey, let's talk wrestling. Let's talk the Indus. And, there are reports coming out today that the WWE are looking to position the Indus in a strong place in the tag division and be challengers to the tag team championships of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That is where WWE is headed, and it's where I was hoping they were headed all the way back to when you were reporting to us from NXT, and there were many weeks they didn't show up and all that kind of thing. And here we are. And now reports are coming out that WWE does want to elevate them and put them in a strong position to be credible threats to the Undisputed Tag Team Championships that are currently being held by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So, by the way, jealous, you're on a beach. I can hear it. Don't lie. It's not fair. While we're sitting up here, most of us are, well, I say up here, but many of you are down there or wherever, depending on when you're looking at a map. We're in our homes or in a city and you're on a lovely beach. Sounds like you're in a tropical beach, but anyway, not fair. Thanks, DJ. Let's continue on to actually an Instagram. I meant to read this one earlier. It came from, let's see here. It came to us from AJ on Instagram, and I told him I was going to put this on the mailbag, so here we go. I sent this to myself, which is why I overlooked it. And AJ said, hope all is well. I was listening to the current state of WWE today, and what if the Usos and Solo turn heel on Roman, taking him out for a month or two, while at the same time turning Roman face, leaving Paul Heyman to pull some miraculous strings to reunite the Shield for one last run against the Usos and Solo? I think that would blow the roof off the arena. Thoughts? Again, this storyline, this is what makes this storyline, part of what makes this storyline so great is there are so many ways to go. How many times, especially over the last year, have we said on this show, many of you have said this, other podcasts have said, man, we're at another fork in the road. There are so many ways they could go. And they continue to choose, apparently, the right path. Or at least they're executing the path that they want to the best of their ability. And this is just another one of those forks. There's a lot of ways they could go. It's almost as if either they're choosing the right path every time, or it doesn't matter what path they're choosing because this is such a good storyline and everyone's playing their roles so well, or maybe both. I don't know. But this is not a bad decision. However, as I've said earlier to an earlier emailer, do you want Roman to turn babyface before The Rock gets back? And all the challengers I mentioned that he hasn't yet faced or is due for a second match. Cody Rhodes, I didn't include in that, is due for a second match. Do you really want a babyface Roman Reigns against heel Cody Rhodes? Or no, to me, until you have completely finished the Roman Reigns heel run, which I don't think they have, and I think they're at least a year out from that, I wouldn't turn Roman Reigns babyface. I just wouldn't. And also Usos and Solo turning on Roman. It's difficult to position that where Roman doesn't get or Roman does get cheered and the Usos and Solo get booed. I don't even know if I'd want that reaction. Did you hear the reaction when Solo sided, at least temporarily, with the Usos on SmackDown? It was electric. People want that. People want the, like, why would the crowd cheer for those who are being abused for several months and being held essentially captive, that are being verbally and physically abused, and they turn on their captor? All of a sudden, we're supposed to feel bad for the captor? No, right? Again, I see the story you're trying to tell, the sympathy story. It's he's outnumbered, his family's turned on him. You could tell that story, but I think we're a year away from it, from that babyface turn of Roman anyway. But again, many paths to take here, AJ, many. And that's not a terrible one. I think it's a little too early. It's not a bad idea. I think it's a good idea. It's just a little too early for the babyface turn for Roman. I'd say we're about 75% of the way through, though, his heel run. I'd say 70%, 75. All right. So let's continue on with the voicemails and see who's next.
Alex, the French guy here, your current European champion. I didn't forget you, New York Cal. We have to settle this. It is fine. We are starting to fade away from WrestleMania. But yeah, we will definitely have a match for this European champion. With this out of the way, I just wanted to address that at this time, I find that wrestling and WWE in particular is in a very good spot. I find Raw entertaining, storyline entertaining, SmackDown entertaining, two world champion exactly how it should be. Interesting, intercontinental champion wise, Gunther making a absolute banger of a job. The only downside might be Austin Theory. I think he needs to reinvent his character. Indeed, the match with John Cena did hurt his character, I think, but the guy is talented. There's no question about if he is capable of doing interest people. I think he is. He needs to cut the beard off. It doesn't suit him. The guy is, I don't know, he's 24 or something, 25. The beard doesn't suit him at all. But yeah, just wanted to say that at this moment I really enjoy weeklies, pay-per-views. I think it's in a good spot. The storyline with the Bloodline is actually absolutely a masterpiece of a storyline. There's so many things to tell right now, so many things left to tell at this moment. So yeah, I'm just enjoying wrestling right now for almost every storyline. So yeah, Aaron Knight also, like, I hope he's winning the Money in the Bank. That will be a banger too. That's it. That's just it. Guys, let me know what you think. But I think we are in a very good spot at this moment. See you guys.
Alex, I like that you brought some positivity to the show, some much needed positivity, and recognizing that we are in a hell of a position as wrestling fans right now. Now, I have gone on the record of criticizing a lot of things they've done over the last several weeks, and the assumption that Vince McMahon is having a heavy influence. I know many of you don't want to believe it, or are telling me, you're wrong. I'm not wrong. We had actual confirmation from somebody that works in security that Vince McMahon was backstage. He was in the gorilla position, by the way. Many sources have brought this to the forefront. This isn't just hearsay or fan speculation or some kind of conspiracy or whatever that we want to believe Vince is there. No, he is and has been and has run a little bit of or caused a little bit of havoc at Raws. I don't think he's a good presence to have at Raw. It sends the wrong message to talent that Triple H is there just kind of in as a face, but Vince is still running things. Again, we'll never know the truth about how much influence Vince has, but clearly there is some. Clearly there is. And so I've been critical of that as some of the Vince McMahonisms have reared their ugly head, like a complete lack of respect for the brand split immediately off the bat. The fact that Raw has felt very formulaic at times, and that was a staple under Vince McMahon where he told us anything could happen, but anything could happen. There was a feeling of anything could happen very rarely, and only really took part and took place when Triple H took over after Vince resigned last year. And Triple H actually had some time to himself without Vince. And anyway. So I'm glad you brought some positivity. And it is a hell of a time to be a wrestling fan. We have some major stars in the making. We have some big returns on the horizon. Like you said, we have a new world champion. We have a new unified championship. We're in the middle of a historic run for Roman Reigns, and living a reign that many of us may not live through again. And I don't mean that in a morbid way, but many of us, honestly, I mean, I know my demographic. I can see the stats. Many of us are males in our, from the age of, I'd say 20 to 40, right? So, I mean, I'm actually 40, 45. I know a lot of you, I see the demographics are in that category as myself. And let's just be honest, it's unlikely that we have a reign this long in our lifetimes again. So we're witnessing something special. And you're witnessing NXT being a great feeding ground for the main roster. It is a fun time. It's a fun time. We're about to come up on WrestleMania 40. There's a lot to look forward to. Thanks for that shot of positivity, Alex, the French guy. Let's get to our next one.
Hey, it's Kyle from Baltimore. So I wanted to talk about that Becky and Zoe both qualified for Money in the Bank. I kind of expect that to happen. I'm glad that Becky's in the ladder match again. And I was so it's cool for that scenario, right? So on Friday, I kind of also hope that Io's in the ladder match as well, because I think Io is my pick to win the briefcase. If not Becky, I would say Io's number one and Becky's number two for I want to see win that briefcase. But since Becky's gonna be focused on Trish anyway, ahead of the SummerSlam, I don't think she's gonna win it. But anyway, I am happy that she's there. But again, with Rhea Ripley, I was just watching her tonight, and I was like, man, this woman just seems lost. And I love that Damian Priest got his time to shine with Seth, but it just seems to me that the whole Judgment Day as a whole, to me, just seems just directionless. And I guess where are they going to go from here? It seems like they're going to set up a Finn Balor Rollins match for the championship, but what about everyone else? I'm not trying to repeat what I said last week about Rhea, but I guess the whole Judgment Day as a whole, where are they going to be going heading into this summer, the rest of this year? But that's it. The show call. Bye.
Kyle, you brought up a topic that's, I could spend many, many, many minutes on, but I won't. I'll be as concise as I can. To address Becky, though, first, and Trish Stratus and Becky being in the Money in the Bank ladder match for the women, I have no problem with that. I would agree that Becky is far from the favorite to win that. She may end up being the biggest name, but she is right now on a collision course for part 2 with Trish. Now, does Trish end up injuring, quote unquote, Becky before the Money in the Bank ladder match, so someone has to take her place like Sonya? Perhaps Trish waits until Money in the Bank to screw her over, and then it leads to a match between Trish and Becky at SummerSlam. That's also a possibility. But either way, Trish is going to have a hand in Becky not winning or not even being able to compete at the Money in the Bank ladder match. And that's just the way it is. There's no chance that Becky wins the Money in the Bank ladder match. I didn't say there's no chance, but there's a very small chance. Now, as far as Rhea, yeah, it feels like I don't want to say she's directionless. I mean, listen to the reaction. Her and Dom, it almost doesn't matter like who their program is with right now, because they have so much heat, especially Dom, but Rhea feeds off of it. And it's weird because people were ready to cheer Rhea, and they recognize her talent and are excited for her to win, or that she has won the SmackDown Women's Championship. That should be the Raw Championship, by the way. But yeah, in terms of opponents, I mean, she's worked with Zelina Vega, and that was a really good match, and put Zelina on the map in a way that she hasn't been before, which is fine. But yeah, she has yet to engage in a real competitive program. I know Becky and Rhea are eventually going to happen. Perhaps they happen at SummerSlam, and Trish and Becky end their program at Money in the Bank. I don't know. But Becky and Rhea is a big match that hasn't happened yet. Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley is a big match that hasn't happened yet, so that is something that we need to keep an eye on. But you're right. I wouldn't say they're directionless, but it does seem as a whole for the Judgment Day as a group, they do feel like they're at a bit of a crossroads. We saw the tension with Finn and Damian this past week, and the side eye that Finn gave Damian, that people are alluding to being the the beginning of Splitsville, at least for Damian. So that's something. And then, of course, you have Finn and Seth likely competing with one another at the Money in the Bank event in London, which is going to tear the house down. I mean, those two, of course, are going to have a fantastic match. So that's kind of a lock 'em up, throw it away. But of course, Seth Rollins is nearly guaranteed to win that match. Rhea is a bit directionless here in terms of opponents. She doesn't really have one solid woman lined up for Money in the Bank. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't have a match at Money in the Bank. Maybe she's just teaming with Dom in a mixed tag team environment, because Dom is on fire as a heel. Again, Dom is also such a heat magnet. It almost doesn't matter who he's feuding with or if he feels directionless. The crowd doesn't seem to notice or care. All they want to do is boo Dom off the microphone and see somebody just whoop his ass. It's the Judgment Day is in a good position, but they're at a crossroads as well. So, good questions. All right, let's keep it going, guys.
Hey, Matt, another podcast. It's New York Kyle outside of work again. Episode 2 of the Core Trade Report. She was in a feud before NXT TakeOver Battleground. And I was really excited because I felt like she was getting a push. She's been not really on a losing streak, just like more of like she's just not really doing anything at the moment, but like I think she's getting into a storyline soon. She's not doing anything in the moment. That's what I feel like is going on. Like she's kind of limbo until they find something for her, basically. But she's still on TV getting wins sometimes. So it's like it's still good. She's still getting momentum by having matches. She's just not in anything right now. Anyway, there was a number 1 contender, Battle Royal, for the NXT Women's Championship, and she was the final third person. She didn't win it, but she was the third last person. I believe it was like 17, 18. I think it was 17 women, and she was the last third one. So that's still pretty impressive. So, and she still was good in defeat. And she was the last one eliminated. Like her and Dana Brooke, actually. Dana Brooke Raw was on the show in the Power Royal. Dana Brooke and Cora Jade both got eliminated at the same time by Thea Hale. So like, technically her and Dana are both the last eliminated. So she looked strong on the feet. And she got like 3 eliminations in the match. So, even though she didn't win, I'm happy she looks good. I hope next week they start something new for her, a new fresh feud, like something for her. But yeah, just like last week's episode, it's kind of a short one because not much happened. And once she's in like more of a prominent program, that's probably when this will be longer. Once she's in more of a prominent feud or storyline, that's when it'll be longer. But until then, it's gonna be short like this. But yeah, hopefully next week that changes. But that's really all for this week, actually. Everything else, I actually wrote in an email this week. Pretty much everything else I want to say is on the email. I kind of did a little special Roman Reigns 1,000 day celebration type thing on my email, so look forward to that. And that's it, guys. So I'll see you next week.
New York Kyle with the Core Jade Report. Yeah, it's, if you guys want a full rundown, I mean, Kyle did give you a little bit here of what happened and Dana Brooke showing up on NXT. And by the way, guys, Baron Corbin seems to have found a home in NXT. We'll see how long that lasts. But I think also when you bring back stars from the main roster back to NXT, it's good for them to get a change in scenery and regenerate themselves and refine themselves in a less pressurized environment. But also I think it's kind of filling the gaps that were left by the people that were called up, So I think it's kind of a give and take. And we forget that it's a two-way street with NXT. We always just think it's a one-way right from NXT to the main roster. No one ever goes back, but that's not the case. And I don't think it should ever be the case or treated as such. But to your point, Kyle, yeah, like, it is something to keep an eye on. Core Jade, we all know. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the details. If you guys want a full rundown of the NXT event, the NXT show, we have Memphis Mark, who covers it every single week. I drop it usually on Wednesday mornings as early as I can. Today, I dropped it a little bit late, but it still is out there, and he does a great job every single week. So check that out. But we have, again, New York Kyle, thank you so much for your contributions. You're always at work. Did you say you were at work? Don't get yourself in trouble, man. Don't you get unless you're on your break or lunch or something like that, right? Don't get yourself in trouble. All right. Thanks so much. Let's get to, I think, our final voicemail. Let's do it.
What's up, WWE Podcast? Checking in once again. You know who it is. It's Rocky T from Houston, Texas. Here with your Roxanne Perez update. Now, the Roxanne Perez update is inspired by the Fear Mahan report, brought to you by our very own DJ Kuzmo. Now, on this week's Roxanne Perez update, she was in the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship match against Tiffany Stratton. Unfortunately, I have to report that she did not win, and even more so to that, she didn't even make the Final Four. So, stay tuned. Not to worry, this girl, like we said, is the prodigy, 21-year-old girl. She's got a long way to go, a long career ahead of her. So, do not think twice about thinking that she will not be champion again. That's all I have for you this week. So, like always, please, do not have a good day. Have a great day.
All right, Rocky T, closing things out with the Roxanne Perez report. You guys are great with all these up-and-coming stars. Now, yeah, you know, the fact that she's 21, you know, I don't think age is such a big deal a lot of the time for certain things. But when it comes to an environment like WWE, or when you're in the public eye at all, think back to when you were 21. I don't mean you, Rocky T, specifically. I mean just everyone listening. You, when you were 21, or maybe you are 21 listening to this, and in which case, God bless you. And we can all say generally we all hate you because the youth is wasted on the young, is it not? Yeah, it's God. You think back. Imagine just taking what you know now and putting your brain back in your 21-year-old body. It'd be a scary, scary thing to do. Almost unfair, but that said, when you're 21, guys, for most of you listening, you're over 21. Your brain is not fully developed, number one. It scientifically is not, especially for men. I think it's fully developed at the age of 25. And for some men, it never develops, right? And a lot of us, it just freezes at 25, and then we don't grow any older, at least when it comes to mentally. That said, my point of all this nonsense as I ramble to end the show is that at that age, you still, as much as you think you may know, there's a lot more that you don't know than you do. And for Roxanne Perez, yes, she may be young, which is great from a longevity standpoint and potential long-term success. That absolutely, you can't buy time. That is a absolute intangible asset that is, it's invaluable. Time, right? Time is... maybe I'll do a after dark show or something on time. And anyway, my point is, guys, she is an up and coming star, as we have noted, and this is why we have the Roxanne Perez report. But there's still a lot of polishing that needs to be done, and a lot of times people see a little bit of a glimmer of success in somebody young, and then they bring them up, and it's too much too soon. With Roxanne Perez, I'll admit I have not followed too much of her work, but knowing her age, I would say at least a year or two more before they bring her up to the main roster if they have plans for her. I know that, when she's ready, she's ready. But there's a lot of things that can't be substituted for age, right? Experience and just age itself, growing, learning life, dealing with stuff, So anyway, I'm going off on a tangent about life that I'll save for an After Dark show. That said, I will close it out before the show goes off a cliff. I appreciate everybody calling in and leaving voicemails. You can, if you want to leave a voicemail, by the way, guys, the phone number is in the description notes of this show. And you can also email us mailbag@wwepodcast.com, or you can really support us by giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. You can go ad-free on Apple Podcasts. You can go to wwepodcast.com and join VIP, our VIP side of things. And also get your merch at wwepodcastshop.com, or, of course, the beloved Patreon. For starting at $1 a month, you can get a Discord server. You get every show ad-free and shout out on this show as well. So some pretty cool stuff for just $1 a month. We didn't adjust for inflation, believe it or not. Maybe I should. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.